Greetings everyone, Lumberg here. Today I am super excited to share my video on C31. I had a chance to do some research and put together my thoughts, so I really wanted to share that with you guys today. It's been a while since I've made some content, so I'm super excited to actually bring something that I spent some time on that I'm excited about, and I hope that you will find helpful. We're going to divide this video into a couple of different parts. We're going to talk about the C41 building requirements. And as usual, you will have, this spreadsheet in the links below. So you can make a screenshot or save it, download it, and use it for your own purposes, build your own kind of template and see, where you are. We're also going to be talking about, my thoughts on C41, what this means for the game. What's the rate of uranium that you can expect now? What's the number of days that it will take you to get there if you ever will? And then finally, we're going to go through some of the monsters that have already become C41 and C40 and list those out and see who they are and what nation. And we're going to end with a uranium pack analysis, updated for, some of the new packs and some of the new rates, just an update. So let's begin. Very first, you are used to probably seeing this template. Thanks to Boogie and Saez, who, as you know, I am still pretty low level city, so I wasn't able to record this, but I joined a podcast or live session with Nikki and Boogie, who graciously walked us through his journey and took screenshots and was able to record some of this. And he already updated his spreadsheet, which I think Nikki has on her Discord page. Check her out. What I like to do is to make this, kind of very visually clear about where you need to go. So this view is the same information, but just presented a little bit differently. So up until C38, we already had this. This is basically from the moment you can gather uranium. You need 808,000 or 809,000 uranium to go from C30 to T11 cannons, right? So that's kind of all the building requirements in order of what takes you there. A lot of us that have played the game for a while are already there. Some of us that have played for even longer are already at T12 snipers. You could skip T12 snipers if you don't like snipers and just go directly to factory. So you could save some uranium that way. But in general, this next figure, 1.6 million, is incremental. So 809,000 plus 1.6 million gets you T12 snipers. So a huge jump from T34 to T12 snipers at Camp 36. And then finally, to get shredders, it's another almost a million uranium. These are massive numbers, right? And then from T12 shredders to get to T12 EMP, or the laser cannons, it's another 1.5 million uranium. So now that's where we were at C38. Here's the new update and the completion of the table. Here, in order to get to C39, you'll need a wall, of course, and you'll need hospital. So this assumes that you only built the minimum buildings needed to kind of progress to the next level. So you would need 4 levels of that hospital. Here's the uranium cost. And to get to C40, you need garage. Most people probably updated their garage that are C38, that are monsters. So you won't need this uranium if you've already done it, but you can see garage is a pretty expensive building in terms of uranium costs. And garage is a useful building, Hospital, you can argue that is also pretty useful. So hospital and garage being the requirements is a plus. That is actually not a bad requirement. This is a difference from the sister game that's 2 years ahead, that is War and Order, where Academy was a requirement instead of hospital. So that is a change up. Of course, once you get to C40, you still need to take your factory from shredders at C37 to basically factory 40. And that whole journey from T12 EMP, assuming you didn't build hospital or garage, cost 3.52 million uranium. That's an astronomical number. So to go from T12 EMP to T13 Cannons, it's 3.5 million. And one thing that Camel did that people are probably perturbed with is the T13 zombies, unlike everything else, did not unlock at 40 or even 39. It unlocked at all the way in 41. And I think they did this so that it gives people an incentive that, just don't stop at 40. Because if you're long range and you got your cannons and tanks, you really don't need to go to 41 to get your stormtroopers and shielders, which you're not going to use that much as a long range. So they were smart to put this in, smart and conniving to put this T13 zombies at C41. And so to get T13 zombies, the 4.5 million plus a little over $1 million will get you there. But if you want the stormtroopers or the shielders, and if you're mid-range, that next journey will cost another 600,000. So 3.5 plus 1.6, so over 5 million uranium from C38 to C41 stormtroopers. So that's a lot of uranium. And here's the summary of it, right? So your whole journey from level 30 city, when you start requiring uranium to do all the minimum buildings to get to T13 troops or T13 stormtroopers, the last tier in the workshop, it will cost you over 10 million uranium. And of course, there's the food, oil, steel requirements, but this sheet, use it. I find it incredibly, depressing at times, but sometimes useful. For example, in my journey now, I already have T12 snipers. I am waiting to get the T12 shredders, and I'm waiting to upgrade all of these and get this 900,000 uranium. And in my journey, I am at, you can see here's a C41 city in our nation. Here's a C40 city. You can see my uranium is 733. So I'm pretty close. I'm about, a month and a half away from getting T12 shredders. Really a long way still from, T12 EMP, probably about a little less than a year. We'll go through that calculation. And to get to T13 Cannons, probably never. So, coming back to this. So that's just C41 Building Requirements sheet that I kind of like to see, where you need to go, how you need to plan it out. You can save this as a copy and make your own sheet like I have done. We are next going to go into another tab, which is my thoughts on C41. So this is C38 was released in October 12, 2021. C41 was just released. It's been 3 days, October 17th. And, you'll notice that they did increase uranium a little bit. So you got a $2,000, you got a 2,000 uranium gift and this message that said, wait, your doomsday is going from 500 to 800. That's 300 uranium. Your surface mining, the passive one, as long as you collect it every so often, is going from 25 to 30. So that's 5 an hour for times 24 is only 120, right? So 300 plus 120, that's 420 increase daily, which isn't bad. But also they said that the word free is misused here. It's definitely a payment. Once you get the uranium card, it's instead of being 30 days at 800, it's 30 days at 1,000. So that really does become the best deal in the game. And we'll go through that in the uranium pack analysis. So the monthly uranium card did reflect a 20% increase. There is no new scarce resource. So that's a plus, right? So all of these things are plus. Higher basic uranium for everyone, higher amounts in the monthly card. The fact that they didn't add like a plutonium or something else is great. But there is no new source of uranium. They did increase the rate slightly, but there is no new source of uranium. Also, when we go through the pack analysis, you'll notice that the uranium pack prices was not updated in the daily packs, the weekly packs, the monthly, or the other deals that are not good, that are not as good, that I wouldn't recommend. Only the limited time event packs had been updated to reflect about a 20% increase. So I would hope that Camel will go back and increase the uranium rates to increase about 20% in the daily, weekly, and monthly. If they don't, I strongly urge you to reach out to your VIP representative, if you have one, or reach out to, just filing a ticket and say, look, the increased uranium rate is not reflected in these packs. It was reflected in the limited event pack. So when are they going to update better rates for the daily, weekly, monthly packs if you buy them? If you don't buy them, skip it. But if you certainly are a VIP player and you're buying it, do urge them, even if you don't need it anymore, for your fellow alliance mates and fellow friends that play this game. There was no new researcher academy added. There was no new level 7 equipment added, which was a shocker because there was basically new equipment at 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So 40 was where it was due, and they didn't add it. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. No real new content on the game. Nothing on zombies. Just zombies are incredibly difficult to even hunt, but no real challenge in the game other than PvP. So there's no PvE element that was added that increased the storyline of this game. So that's some of the newer nations got a pretty interactive kind of survivor type game with the heroes that still hasn't been rolled out. I know a lot of people have made videos on these. Woody has, complaining that, hey, when will we get this? I don't think we're going to get it. The new nations have it, but there's really no new kind of compelling content. Furthermore, because there was no new scarce resource, they really allowed people to become C41 or C40 instantly, right, overnight. And we're going to see that in our monster analysis and our, kind of just take a quick look at who became that in 3 days and how many cities did across all globes reach that milestone. Next section that I want to talk about is, what does this mean for your kind of, where do you expect that your daily uranium is and how long will it take you to reach these milestones even? So let's look at this kind of quick analysis. So here, this is similar to what I've done before. I've just really updated for Doomsday is 800 instead of 500. Surface mining is 720 instead of 600. This estimate is very dependent on how active you are, how many plunders you do, what's your strength, what level mine can you kind of reside in. For me, the level of mine that I can reside in is probably level 4 at the hardest, or the highest producing one, or level 5 at the second highest one. And really you can create a huge benefit in your uranium journey. If you ever want to know how you can find out the rates, if you just go into the uranium mine, go to deep mining, and if you click on a mine here, click on the filter button, you can see here it's going to tell you this is number 4 is the highest one, so this is your rates by level. You can switch to number 3, that'll tell you the next tier, number 2, and so on. And you can also filter the mines. That's what it's designed for, but I like this view because it shows you kind of the collection rate. So this is where I assume me, and I'm a low spender, but a very active player, low spender. So it all depends on how quickly you collect, right? So if you can collect it before somebody seizes your mine, you're going to have a net pretty significant benefit because you're not going to lose any plunder and you're going to plunder somebody else. But if somebody gets you, then you do it, your plunder basically neutralizes, and most likely somebody is plundering you or seizing your mine when you go over. The key challenge is, how much does it cost to get there, right? So the first one costs 100 gold, the second one costs 150, and so on. So I usually try to do about up to 200. So what that allows you to do is it basically allows you to collect every, 5 to 6 hours. And then overnight stay at a weaker mine that allows you not to get plundered, or you're strong enough where you don't get plundered at that level. So this is kind of my estimate based on where I am. Maybe I lose 2 hours when I sleep, and if I do get plundered, and then I collect more times than I get kicked out. And so this is kind of the quick math to come up with. If you had no uranium card and you're a decently active player, and you do some level of spend, you should be at 3,300 uranium a day. Of course, there is one day that the mines are closed, which still means you can do Doomsday. The Gobbler is 1,000 every 2 days, so we just average it to be 500. So you're only missing out on this, whatever this number comes out to be, approximately, 1,300, 1,400 amount here. And in Medici, you usually get more than that. So technically, if you took the amount more that you get in Medici and allocated out over the weekly amount, you should probably be at like a little higher than 3,300, especially if you get lucky with the Medici run. If you get the monthly card, which is, costs $20, that's an extra 1,000. So this is kind of the basic conservative estimate that I said, like, if you're a decently active player and if you actually spend $20 a month minimum on this game, which is a good buy here, how long will it take you to reach some of these milestones? And this is where I was saying, usually two raid attempts in the mine are free. If you do up to 3 more, that only costs you, a total of 450 gold, which is not bad. You can gather about half of that just in staying in the mines all day if you don't need resources anymore. So using those rates, your daily uranium without a card is 3,300. Monthly uranium is just under 100,000. Yearly uranium is, for 12 months, is 1.2 million. If you get the monthly card, it's basically going to be 1,000 more a day, right? So almost 25% more. So you can see here 4.3 per day, about 129 or 130 per month, and 1.5, a little over 1.5 million per year. But if you look at this journey of where you need to get to, right, and break it down to, these are your tiers, these are your milestones. Somebody just started the game and they want to reach T11 Cannons and they buy an uranium card, it will take them 189 days from C30 to C34. And that's not too terrible. But then the next milestone of getting to T12 snipers with a card every single month over a year. Next, to get to T12 shredders, 2/3 of a year. To get to T12 EMPs, another year. And this is where the kicker comes in. To get from T12 EMPs to T13 Cannons, almost 3 years. And that's, for a game that, you're a dedicated player, that you spent $20 a month, for it to take 3 years to get there, it's just insane. If you don't buy the monthly card, I mean, it's just, sorry, if you buy the monthly card, with no card, it's 3 years. Without the card, it's about 2.5, but still a long time. And then from T13 Cannons, if you're mid-range, to get to Stormtroopers, it'll take you another year. So really, really, really expensive, slow process to get there. And something Camel really ought to add another source of uranium. So I urge you to write to them. Like, if the players band together, we can do this. I watched a video by a fellow YouTuber, Farrell Vincent. Sorry, it took me a second to remember his name. Sorry, Farrell. And, he had similar points and he was frustrated too. And I can understand his frustration after I did the math. Just, excuse me. It really is, a really long time. And most of us have played this game already a long time. So it does seem like some adjustment is needed. Some of the top players are already there. For the rest of us to keep up and for this game to survive, this is in Camel's best interest, is to allow for the people, it's like a, demand surplus and a supply surplus, and that curve, you've already satisfied and gotten the uranium from the players that have already, gotten there fast. Now for everybody else, for those players to not get bored and quit, and for everybody else just, die of boredom by getting smashed, and then not really die of boredom, they're going to get smashed and be disappointed and discouraged and quit the game. You really need to make uranium more accessible for everybody that's new to the game, that's not going to spend as much and buy these crazy, ridiculous packs to catch up. Because really the bread and butter of the strong accounts is still the Titans, is still the Warplane, and those are still very, very premium items. So really, Camel really needs to make uranium accessible. and more accessible and faster. This game is too long already. Please urge them and write them, and I will do my best to do the same to Camel and keep producing content that highlights this, right? So if we all try to make this a point and make it a business case for them that yes, this is what makes sense, maybe they'll see the light. All right, so let's move on to the monsters, right? So because there was no natural barrier to do this, who got there how fast? So I went through, each of the globes, and it's pretty simple. It might be a day lag, but I did that this morning. If you go into kind of, in your globe, if you look at globe ranking and you have nation ranking, where you can see kind of your nation, and look at the city ranking, you can see, whoa, look, we have a 41, we have 4 40s, that's 285. But you can also see your globe. Excuse me. So same place, city ranking. So that's what I did. I went through all the globes and looked at it. And so here you can see that our globe is actually pretty active. You can see we have 7 41s and 18 40s already. So that's 25 C40 plus. So that's what I did. I went through all these globes and just put them, gave these people a shout out. These are all the people that basically got there in 3 days or less. So World 1 has 1 C41. Whoops, I'm just trying to get the right zoom if you can see this. It has 1 C41 and 1 C40. Nation 2, I think that's Jenny. She has over multiple T13 fleets already, I think. C41, 1 and 2 C40s, and all in the same alliance, so that helps too. Nation 1 has it in 2 different alliances. Nation 30, wow, all in one alliance. 1 C41, that's Cookie, and then 5 C40s. Nation 33 has 2 C40s and POW. Nation 52 has 2 C41s. I think the only nation that probably has 2 C41s. No, there's a few other here. So the C41s are in green and the C40s are in yellow. That's the key. And then each globe, as it kind of goes, it goes from, blue text to black text. Each nation is kind of in this blue box. Each has a blue box. So that's how I kind of kept the results. 72 is not bad. They have in 2 different alliances, 3 C40s. 99, also not bad, C41, and then 3 C40s. 113 has 6 C40s across 2 alliances, 4 in MKI, so pretty impressive there. 114 has 3, 1 C41, and so on. And you can see here, some of the nations are stronger than others. 246, has a lot of whale players. So 3 C41s and 3 C40s. Pretty impressive. Spread across multiple alliances, though, so that might be some of the challenge here. Some people, like Silent, has a C40 and 219 and a C40 and 285. So Silent is a good friend, a fellow alliance mate, and completely insane for being able to do that in 2 different cities. So Sin is looking good with 3 C40s. My Nation 285. We have 2 C40s and WoW and TSK, and then 1 C41 Jackie, who just sits in his rogue alliance of 1. Maybe he'll join somebody else. You can see here, some of the big names as expected. Dreadnought, the bird that is now the dog, Kaya. So many people that I know that I've talked with, Lead God or Kitschy God, that have already gotten there, and no surprise. If you keep going down the list, you'll see, wait, the list gets thinner and thinner as you get into some of these other nations, some of the older nations, which is understandable. And you'll also start noticing that a lot of the strength, like for instance in 457, 442, a lot of the lock nations, a lot of these, the Chinese only names are probably lock nations. 635. A lot of the strength in some of these later nations is coming from those insane ones. If you look at Um, this one's pretty insane. So if you look at 770, it has a C41 and a C40, and it's the same person. It's a farm of Vegas. So Vegas is now famous. I have to show this picture. He has a C41, a C40, a C39, and a C38. And that's like, you just put them all nicely so you can see here's what your city progression can look like. So Vegas has, I think, a bottomless wallet and can, really get there. He probably will get all 4 of his cities to C41, which is, insane considering the amount of uranium that it costs. And even more insane that it's nation 770s. So, none of that, everything that he's getting, he didn't have a chance to save over, unlike people that would in some of these earlier nations. All right, let's next look at this grouping. So here, in 3 days, there was 26 C41s across all nations and 89 C40s. I didn't even keep track of C39s because there was just too many and I wouldn't be able to keep track of all of them, which is pretty impressive. If you've gotten C39, congratulations. If you're not on this list, it's just because there's just too many, right? So because of the no natural barrier, people that had saved up uranium were able to get there really quickly. So here you can quickly see, so this first table, which is a pivot table of this data here, is showing you that nation 30, how many C40s and C41s do they have. This doesn't mean that these nations are going to be able to beat everybody else, but it's a good indication that they have healthy spending and they're going to have, some healthy whales in these numbers. So I've highlighted kind of the big ones. You can see, no surprise there, 30, 99, 113, 219, 246, 255, 274, 280, 285. A little bit of a surprise was that 269 is probably going to take their time. Remember, a lot of this is people might be holding out for void, right? So if you think about it, this was Frenzy Week. So a lot of these people that got it just got excited and they didn't want to wait. But some people I know that may have the uranium are really wanting to wait until void because they're void focused. I presume that's the case with 269. And, this next table is also an interesting view because it shows you kind of not just nation, but also which alliances have it. So if you look at it here, BBB in 114, Core in Nation 2, HIM in Nation 255. All of these alliances are pretty strong. And just look at how many MKI has 4, MJE in 457. Again, that's a block nation powerhouse. NX3 in Nation 30. That's Simple Jacks Alliance. 6, 1 C41 and 5 C40s. SIN has 3, and then 274 TZS has 3. ZIP has 3 in 157. So this doesn't mean that these are nations that will be able to always win because, it's still going to be a team game. But it does mean that they have some, massive, strong spending, players / whales. So just interesting to see this data. Interesting to see that in 3 days we have 115 C40 plus, combined 26 plus 89 is 115 cities. And here's all the players, and a big shout out and congratulations to all of these players that have made it. Of course, many will make it a lot more, and then I won't be able to keep up with this list. It's going to be too many. But it is, I thought, a good view to kind of see, what that meant is, as expected, with no new rare resource, people were able to hit it in minutes, as we saw with Boogie 2. He at least waited for us to kind of see and take records. On that note of congratulations, let's go to what about everybody else. So this is the uranium pack analysis that I just updated based on where we are now. So the main thing to keep in mind is that this monthly card with that 200 extra uranium per day just became, by far the best pack that, you should consider getting for uranium if you're not getting it already. If you're not spending, don't worry. Uranium, all it does is it's buying you time. So it's not giving you any extra stats. So this is the one area where I think you shouldn't spend. This is only done because people have requested me to update this table and have asked for this information. But I strongly urge you not to get some of these really, 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 really bad deals. So the special event one, which was this limited time deals, I noticed that if you went into kind of the rates, because this table I had from before, all of these other ones didn't change. This one used to be 2,400 with $499. It became 2,880, which is exactly that 20% boost or increase, which matches the Uranium Gold card. That's where I was referring to earlier, that this 5th anniversary pack has been updated to reflect 20% increase, but none of these other ones have been updated to reflect that 20% increase. So naturally they become worse deals. So it wasn't upgraded. Camel needs to update these to be 20% higher. So number one, write to them, force them to do this. If you put pressure on them, they will do it, because that's how these tables were made and reflected. What's even more appalling, and even more reason, where you can find this pack, the purchases other, is if you go into your game. And there's 2 buttons here. So the special, always go to this one, not in the top right corner, but the one right next to it. This one is always going to be the bad deals. Don't buy it here. So if you go into other and you scroll, one of these others should be uranium. So this is the one that hasn't been updated. The rates were updated after C35 went to C38, but this one actually was never updated. This is by far the worst deals, and you can see it in this table here. So this wasn't even updated until 2 updates ago. Hasn't been updated, but we really need to pressure Camel to update the monthly, daily, and weekly packs. So these remain here. I've just kind of ranked them in order. I don't recommend you buy anything other than the Uranium monthly card. If you are going to buy, the special event, it might be too late now. I apologize. By the time it takes me a long time to kind of gather all the information, do all the research, and finally make a video. So I wish I could do it faster. I had a team of people that could help me with it, but it's just me, guys. So, here you can see that it's about $5.70 per dollar, right? So, but compared to the card, you're getting 30,000 for $20. So that's 1,500 per dollar. Clearly head and shoulders better than all of these other ones. Look how poor, this daily uranium card is. It's $357, right? And then, as you know, every tier that it goes up, the next tier, and the more desperate you are to get it faster, this is where, it's even more surprising that some of the older nations have C38s, C37s even. It's just, massively impressive, because that means that they spent in a short period of time. So time does matter, because every week you could say, you know what, I'm going to get the best deals. So I'm going to get, the monthly cards, the weekly cards, but I'm not going to be forced to get some of these, the other purchase one, which is really, really bad deals. But, some people that have the funds that can afford it, if you can afford it and you want to spend it and this game gives you joy, by all means do it. Just don't get sucked into spending more than you can afford, or that you should be spending, because you just get tied up in the idea of winning and keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up, not letting people, it's really not keeping up with the Joneses. I think it's more that you don't want to disappoint your friends and your fellow alliance mates, but we do it to ourselves, so keep that in mind. Don't spend. So that was updated. Oh, the wish card, I didn't capture some of the information. It probably was a good deal, probably better than the limited time deals, probably the second best deal after the monthly card. I did want to point out, they don't say this in the cards. I didn't buy this, I didn't do the research, but one of my friends, Snake, he did do it, and he sent me a screenshot so that other people can see. You can see here, it's kind of like once you get it, you can still kind of I think you get 2 wishes daily for 3 days. I don't know if this is going to ever be repeating. So if it's going to be repeating, you may want to consider getting it if you are going to purchase uranium. I didn't purchase it. I practice what I preach. So, uranium is just timing. I'd rather spend on something that is not available just by time. I have time. But once you get the 2 wishes, and I think the wishes gives you like 10 to 888 uranium, you can also do some of these other, spend more money to get some extra wishes, but it's not that great, right? So you can see spend gold is easy, elite recruit is easy. Buy pack 1 time is also easy because you can just buy, a pack for, 99 cents or $1.99. 3,000 gold from buying packs is probably harder, and 6,000 is also harder. But if you're buying packs anyway, not a bad deal to get it. So that is pretty much my summary of C41. In my C41 series, the next one that I'll probably work on is just looking at the troop analysis. The troop stats, what's the increase, our T13 Cannons, better in everything, T13 tanks, what about T13 stormtroopers? I've seen a couple of videos already that people have graciously shared but did not want to make public, and it's pretty impressive to just see, those T13 battles, and for the most part, it looks like the cannons and tanks are pretty powerful in delivering. Also, in the observations, the dynamics of the game still didn't change. T13 troops, without the underlying stats and without the underlying titans and warplanes, is still beatable. And then, the game is still designed to be, you can still, no matter how strong a player is, even C41, you can, with teamwork, with strategy, you can still combat them. Within reason, right? So you're not going to probably be able to touch somebody like Vegas in a really new nation where, there just isn't, people just haven't had time, and the average city isn't strong enough to be able to compete with them. So what Camel effectively did is removed any type of barriers. Like if you have no stop button on your spend or buy packs, you can really get to the max level just by spending. But to keep this game playable, to keep this game engaged, even for the people that are spending, really Camel does need to improve the rates. And a couple of suggestions that you can make to them is that, first of all, hey guys, why don't you increase, if there's a 20% increase overall, why don't you increase the rates in these mines? So that would be a big help. And then second, give us another source, give us an event, give us a, maybe a uranium officer. Another friend of mine suggested that, there's a slot here, maybe make a director that gives a uranium boost or collection boost, right? So maybe make uranium gatherable in the, use your head. And then at a bare minimum, update these packs of uranium to reflect that 20% increase, just like most other things are. This hasn't changed, right? This should be 5,400, 45 times 1.2. Go ahead and update that. That's it, guys. Apologize for the longer video, but it was long overdue. Take care, and do subscribe if you can. Thank you.